Hello, welcome to day 7 of our adventure through Iceland. Um, so let's get right into day 7 and then talk about what inspired it. Okay, so I'm going to share the picture. There it is. Okay. Here is the picture of day 7, also called. There's a little label that came with it. Okay, I'm gonna murder this. I tried to not to have too many Icelandic words, but this is one. Menenepnepred. Okay, I'm not. I know that's not exact, but what is it? Well, it's blue. It's a lighter blue. It's not exactly the same as the other blue that we had. Um, Let me close this out. What does that word mean? Because it's Icelandic. Um, and here it is. Here it is. Um, it is the Icelandic word for their naming committee, which is part of the Icelandic government. I wanted to talk about Icelandic names a little bit here. And so this isn't necessarily named after a place so much as a part of the government. And why is it blue? Because they used to have a very patronymic naming system, which, here in the United States, we do have last names that are usually followed after our fathers. And this is similar in that it was named after your father, which is why they blue. And then I went for a light blue, kind of like a baby blue, because when you usually get your Icelandic name when you're a baby. But Icelandic names, there's several things that are involved. This website that I've got here, we're going to come back to that. We're going to come back to that first. Okay, so they have had a system that is based mostly in naming your last name after your father, like I said, but that's now somewhat changing. But also, your name is not necessarily a family name. Like your last name is your father's first name, like my dad's first name was William. And so, but my last name would not be William's son because I would have been a daughter. So I would have been William's daughter or daughter. It sounds a lot like daughter, but maybe a little different. D-O, it's a weird O, T-T-I-R. And then my brother, his last name would have been William's son because son is used for a son. And then I have kids, and their last name, they could have used my first name. They would have been Laura, daughter would have been my daughter's last name, or my son would have been Oscar's, Laura's son, if they use the matronymic, the mother's, which is not traditional. Traditional would have been patronymic. So my first husband's first name is Brian. So Oscar's last name would have been Brian's son, Oscar Brian's son. And for a name like Oscar does sound a little bit Nordic. And then Mia would have been Brian Dotier. So your last name, you don't even share with like your brother and sister. You always have like a little bit different. And then husbands and wives don't necessarily change their last name. Like, yeah, that's another thing that doesn't happen. Um, Although there were some people that can have family names, but it's very few, 5% of the people. And also, if I moved there to Iceland now, they would let me keep my name. They wouldn't like make me squirrel my into the new shoehorn me into the new system. They wouldn't make me change my name. And then because of all of this that's going on, you can have very similar names to other people. So often they use your middle name, second names. Like my middle name is Ann, so I'd be Laura Ann. And like people would call me Laura Ann a lot. You know how in the South, maybe a lot of people do like Baba Joe and Billy Sue, and um, people do that more, use first and middle names there, maybe because of some of this confusion. And then also, like when it comes to newborns, quite often they'll kind of go like nameless for up to 6 months because it's tradition to one, kind of like figure out what the name of this kid should be, and you can take your time with it. And also because you have to have an approved name, which is where this Menenepned committee comes from. Um, it's you have to be the first name, well, full name, I think, of your newborn has to be approved if you're Icelandic into the Icelandic system. It can't be like something unusual like Gwyneth Paltrow named wasn't she named her daughter Apple? And like so, let's see, Kim Kardashian named her daughter North, and like uh Beyonce named her daughter Blue Ivy. None of those would work in the system. It has to be like a traditional name in Icelandic. Okay. So the naming committee, as I murder Icelandic, so awful. You have to be approved. So like you have to check to see if your name is either on the list or if it will be approved by one of the three people on this committee, which I think they rotate through people. So it doesn't like you don't get to be on the committee for life. So there's like three, maybe four people, I think, on this committee. But you can, if you wanted to see, you can go to um show you can search Icelandic names, and I don't know a lot of that. Like I just put Laura in here to see what it would get. And this has been translated into Icelandic, but so what do we get? There's somebody that tried to do Lor's if, and if I clicked on it, it says it's in Icelandic, but I'm going to translate it. They said that they rejected this name because it was two different names. They go to a bottle of, and this is back in 2020 or something. This committee has been around since 1991. I thought this was very interesting. There are other countries that do have like a naming approval because they want it to be part of the tradition and also not embarrassing to the kid or something. So you too could see if your name is anything close to an Icelandic name. Oh, I wonder if I put Oscar in here because it just sounds more. Oh, it's not in the system, at least not spelled like that, but it could be spelled differently. Okay, so I'm gonna close that out and the case out, and then talk about, okay, the last day, chart six, which was day six, was the book flood. And so I had this light blue color because it used to be very patronymic, but now you can take your mother's name, first name as your last name, I guess. Um, so I come up with this. Now, my intention with this chart is that it kind of looks like an Icelandic flag. It is the Nordic cross. Now, we only have two colors in each one of these charts, so I can't have the Icelandic flag. It is, which is blue, red, white, and blue right here, like this one. But all of these other Nordic countries are based on the Nordic cross. Like Iceland used to be part of Denmark, which is just the two color. It's red and white. And Finland also has that same Nordic cross. So that's why I was going for just this. This is about as simple as I could get it in this small little chart that we're using. The Nordic cross, so that it talks about the traditions of names in Iceland and also other Nordic countries. I thought that would be something interesting to share rather than just locations. I wanted to talk about the tradition that they stick to quite a bit in Iceland. Not that you can't move there with your unusual name, but if you have a baby there and you want it registered in Iceland, you're gonna have to check with the Menanephened. Maybe one of the many ways I've tried to say this is correct. So I hope you will join me for day 8 tomorrow, and hope you're having a good trip through Iceland. See you tomorrow. Bye.